Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, February 16th. I am Jackie Glass, mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates 89th District. Grateful and honored to serve. So I'm going to tell y'all first off, it's been real interesting around. I don't know if interesting is the word, but um, I know that my sweet allergies are acting up around here. I'm waking up with a swollen face every day. I don't know if it's Richmond or if it's shenanigans. Either way, either way, we're gonna do our best. Hold on, let's see. We got folks coming in. I'm talking to myself. But yes, so like I said, yeah, I don't know if it's Richmond or if it's the shenanigans, but every single day I'm waking up with a swollen face. Got to do some extra time just to be ready for the grind. But grateful to do it. What I want to do today is at a very minimum sort of give you guys a snapshot what's happened over the past 2 days and what you can look forward to in the next week, because we only have 1 week left, right? There's only 1 week left in the General Assembly. Well, our final day, which is also called Sine Die, which will be February 25th. All right. So that'll be our last day in session. So let's get to some of the important news and things that have been happening. I know one bill that I'm so grateful did not make it. I think that we talked a little bit about it. Folks were trying to be able to pay teenagers less than minimum wage because they were under 18 for labor. When we think about, good morning, Miss Charlene, when we think about how people treat folks that work there, really folks that really want to go back to the fact of when we were working folks to death. I don't know if you remember this. But the reason why we have child labor laws for a really valid reason. We were literally working people to death. Like, that's not just something people say anecdotally. That was what was happening here. Is people were being worked to death. We were using our children in chimneys, in small workplaces and things like that because they were smaller. But we've come to a time where we value the person in the work, no matter their abilities, no matter their gender. We're still, I think, gender trying to get there where we get some pay equity, be valued for who we are as showing up. But I think it's absolutely outrageous that in 2023 we're saying, well, if they 17, we can pay them sub minimum wage. I also have a problem with it when it comes to our folks in the service industry. So like it's I have a clarity of mind, clarity of conscience with those sorts of things, but just sort of not fatigued, but just like wild that we're discussing those things. Now we have a lot of bills this session that we're trying to address the educator shortage, a lot of them. Delegate Reed, he's a delegate up in Loudoun County. He sponsored a bill to establish, it's called a teacher re-engagement program that would allow schools to go ahead and bring back some of their retired teachers for part-time work, as long as, they provide the same healthcare benefits to full-time teachers, right? Like, as long as they're able to take care of their people. That program has sort of made it through the General Assembly. So hopefully we come out on the other side of that. There's, I think this made it through. There was a scholarship program proposed legislation to change. So there's a state scholarship right now to incentivize people to teach at Title I schools. Some of you may know about this. Guzman presented a bill that said, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to up that scholarship to $2,500 in annual grants, so that teachers would apply to work for 5 years. And that's there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a variety, a myriad of things that are trying to happen, because if you remember when I told you guys off top, our goals here are always we need a stronger economy. And that means one that doesn't have us paying $11 for eggs. We have to protect our freedoms, whether when we get to that conversation on healthcare, and when we get to that conversation, because that is also going to be amplified over the coming days, a world-class education. And then I want my communities to be safe and healthy, just as I want your communities to be safe and healthy. It's your money, it's your freedoms, it's the education of the people in our community, and it's our community at whole that we are trying to be take care of. And you are absolutely right. Um, you are absolutely right. Miss Charlene said, let's be honest, they want to take everything else backwards. It's not surprising about sub minimum wages. Yeah, that gets to me a bit. That gets to me a bit. I'm just keeping it all the way funky. Um, but there was a bill that is going to allow for us, like hopefully Norfolk State, to discount their out of state tuition for people that come in for high demand fields. Uh, oh, no, no, no. That one didn't make it out of the House. That didn't make it out of the House. So I'm just really trying to make sure that I keep you guys abreast of what's next. Oh, yesterday we did our vote on our vote on our budget. So as you guys know, as you all know, that the budget, we make a budget, the Senate make a budget. We talked about this, right? If you missed it, I believe it's last week, Thursday's live. We gave you guys some resources for looking at how the budget is. If you want them, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Say, hey, yeah, I want that resource. But what has happened is our budget has gone over to the Senate. The Senate budget has come over to us. We're like, we don't like, well, they were like, we don't like their budget. I like the Senate's budget, so I voted for the Senate's budget. I did not like the House budget, so I did not vote for the House budget. And so since we don't like each other's budgets, right, because our values are different, those budgets are now going to go into what we call conference. So over the coming weeks, the Speaker of the House and the protestants of the president of the Senate, what they're going to do is they've assigned people to be a part of the conference, to come together to figure out how we're going to get this budget, because the goal is always to get the budget out to the governor by the end of session, which I say again, the end of session is February 25th. If we don't get it done, right? So what if we don't come to an agreement? What happens then? So what will then happen is we'll probably get called into a special session. For those of you who are keeping track of what we were doing last year, we were in special session for a long time. One for the budget, two for just other legislation that just did not get done, to be quite honest. So the problem here, like I told you guys with the budget, is just like it's different values align. I don't believe that when we make cuts, and I'm not going to get deep into this because I know I talked to y'all ears about it. When we provide tax breaks for folks, though, that money has to come from somewhere else or be taken out of things. And so I don't believe that we should provide tax breaks for people that have during this pandemic and just over time made money hand over fist, so we can sacrifice what we're doing in our schools, so we can sacrifice what we're doing in our communities. I just don't like it, and I will not support it. I hope I'm saying this right. Good morning. I see you. No worries. This is the do, right? And so what I would say to you is that, and I hope I'm saying Rashawn right, that is what I would say to you is that I need you to keep other people informed too, right? I do try to do this and do this well enough to get you guys to we got to pollinate. We're all bees and we got to go pollinate this information so that folks stay abreast of what's going on. Because this is a big election year for us. Every single seat in the House of Delegates, every single seat in the Senate are up. So we're all working, and the governor will be here for another 2 years. So we just got to make sure we're in a position where we're able to do the things that are value aligned with us. So part of what does that say? Part of, let me make sure I'm getting everything. I cannot get with that $1 billion of tax cuts while you can get $50. It just doesn't work. It's not a good look. We're not voting for it. Budgets and conference. It's out at this point as a delegate, right? Because I'm not on the conference, because I'm just waiting on whatever to come back so that I can vote on it. I'm still going to advocate, right? I have to advocate on the Senate side for the things that I feel like are important. I have one budget amendment in, and I told you guys this is for the medical examiner's office, which is a huge part of law enforcement that people don't really think about on getting crime solved. our medical examiner. That's the only budget amendment that I have in. And then we're tracking some budget amendments that were for the city. We didn't get money in places. We're looking for hopefully money to show up in other places that we can have access to. But those are things that we're tracking. And I'll get deeper into that when we start doing our big session debrief. I talked about the minimum wage because I missed this. And I appreciate you, Miss Charlene, saying, about sub minimum wage, because there was another bill in specifically talking about folks with disabilities, right? Because there's a piece where they wanted to pay. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Maybe I was on the wrong thing. Where they wanted to pay less than minimum wage based off a law from the 30s that would so they would, excuse me, get your mind right, Jackie. All right, so what we're trying to do is gradually raise the pay for people that are being compensated below minimum wage, specifically those that with disabilities. But there's two folds to that, right? There's some federal level work that we have to do, because at the federal level, for folks with that are differently able, that are receiving benefits, if they make more money, they can lose their federal benefits. And we've already had folks reach out to Bobby Scott's office to talk about, like, as we raise minimum wage, as we try to get closer to people being able to thrive and not just survive in our current economic conditions, we've got to raise the ceiling on their eligibility for those benefits, because it's not a good look. I see a question. It says, for retired teachers, Bill, how are they dealing with the teacher license for those who return to teaching? That is a great question. That is actually a phenomenal question. Let me see if I have it here, because I don't think that was addressed. I don't know that was addressed. Let me look at that. And I think it's just, hold on. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to get the bill number too. Okay, so the bill number is, and I'm going to put it in the chat, it's House Bill 1762. I'm going to put it in the chat, as well as the link to the bill, so that you have access to that, so you can go straight to it. If you just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to give you that. I'm putting that in the chat. So hopefully you just got that. The teacher re-engagement. But I'm looking at it. The individual complies with all the laws, certain duties, part-time, compensation and pay. Okay. In the case of individual who holds a renewable or provisional teaching license issued by the Board of Education, the individual's duties consist of teaching. Yeah. Okay. So you may have to recertify, but I don't have the exact answer to that. But Ms. Charlene, I will get it and make sure that I connect back with you on that. But that's a great question of, like, all right, I've been out the game. Do I need to research? How does that process, or have they thought about that process? And that information may very well be out there. I just don't currently have it. But I will make sure that you get it. Working with disabilities, or SSI disabilities. We're talking about both. I think it's both, right? So folks that are SSI disabilities, like, so first, the folks that are receiving federal benefits because of their disability, right? We just want them to be able to, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm gonna be honest with you, Denisha. Yeah. I may be saying that backwards. But the employees that we're talking about are like the folks at Eggleston, the folks that work for the Goodwill, the folk, and I'm saying that I'm being very general when I say that. So please don't think I think everyone with disabilities works at Eggleston or Goodwill. Not saying that, but that's who we're talking about. That is who we're talking about. Because we already have where we pay less than minimum wage for them, which again is substandard. It's not okay. These things are not okay. I don't know how else to say this, but it ain't okay. So looking ahead, I This does not necessarily, it affects us, but it doesn't affect us in the same way this bill is. I just want to do an FYI, right? What we had a bill this session that talked about these Chinese farms. So for people who own like over 14,000 acres of land in farmland. So there was a bill introduced by a Hampton Roads legislator that spoke to sort of anxieties of outside foreign entities coming in and buying up land. Someone on our side was like, "Hey, let's amend this to be more strict to make sure that on the federal levels, they've already put up some restrictions to around like foreign land ownership of farmland and whatever." What I'm seeing on the other side is there are a lot of foreign entities buying up housing, buying up real estate, because we live in this market where like it ain't pimping if you got it, right? If you got it, buy up the houses, do the things, right? This is why we see communities sometimes the way that they are designed, because sometimes communities not sometimes, oftentimes communities belong to those who can pay for it, just like history. Okay. So when we have foreign entities, foreign companies coming in, buying up our real estate, to me, especially the real estate farmland, that creates a national security issue, because what happens when they drive up costs, right? It is at no qualms to them because they are not here. So when I think of a place like China, in order to do business with them, you have to give them rights to your prototype, rights to, like, especially when we produce with them, like you got to give up all your stuff to get that cheap labor, right? And we don't have the same sorts of, we don't get anything, right? Like I don't. I think one way I put it was back when we were doing the casino with the city. It's like you can't just drop your draws for everybody. And so that's the thing. It's like, yeah, come in, free market capitalism. And we're seeing now the effects of other people seeing opportunity here at the cost to all of us. So there was a bill in for that. When I saw that, I was like, I was sharing that just in the sense of like, I know that we already have it with people across state lines, corporations doing it. But now we're looking at how it's going to be happening with farmland. Last but not least, we went through this. We certainly went through the transgender bills. We talked about that a little bit, but last night, and I'm going to pull up on my phone because I'm speaking from anecdotally from this, and when I get more information, I'm going to make sure that I share that with you all. But the other night, there was a bill brought forth by a senator, so it made it out of the Senate. And let me see if I'm going to pull it up to make sure that I'm talking right. All right. So there was a bill by Senator, I want to say Favola. Senator Favora, that wanted to prohibit search warrants from being issued for menstrual data. I'm saying that again. There was a bill, Senate bill, and I'll put it in the chat because I want you guys to be able to track what we're doing here. Right, Senate Bill 852. And let me pause and say too, if you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer what I can. Okay. So put your questions, your comments, whatever in the chat, and I'll address them as they come along. So they wanted to be like, look, if I track my period on my phone, you can't just off top, you can't get a search warrant for that data. So Senate passed it 31 to 9. Every Democrat in the chamber voted for it, and about half of the Republicans were in support of it. So the other night, it was laid on the table in the House. There were some concerns, and this is one of those debates. This is what I ran into with some of the bills that I was trying to do with youth and juvenile justice, is that the administration came out and said, okay, we understand. They came out against the bill, right? They came out against the bill, and saying, hey, we respect your privacy. We understand that you need privacy, but that we can't set limits on search warrants, right? Like there, any health information, any app information is available for a search warrant. And we believe that that should continue to be the case, right? Understanding the search warrant stuff, but also understanding why this bill exists. And that's where I like sit. That's where the heart of me sits at with this is why does a bill like this have to exist? Because we're in a climate where there's a real fear. There's a real fear that I, as a menstruating person, right, as a woman, that if it's thought to believe, if there is thought that I could have had an abortion. We haven't gotten there yet. Let me just say this, right? In Virginia, you can still get access to care because we haven't changed in the laws on. Furthermore, we haven't, not that we haven't changed. None of those laws have been docketed. We haven't voted on nothing with regards to reproduction because, again, they know it is not a winning issue, at least not here in Virginia. It's not a winning issue. So we didn't vote on, just to let y'all know, we didn't vote on nothing as it pertains to reproductive freedom. Nothing. Even the Senate bill that came over saying that we will ensure that in Virginia there is a right to reproductive freedom, that still has not been, that was a constitutional amendment, meaning changing our constitution to say that that is a right. We haven't even docketed that. So like we ain't voted on nothing, and not because we running out of time or it's a short session. It's because it's not a winning issue and they not bringing it to the table. One, it's not a winning issue, and two, it's an election year. What did you say? From what I understand, this is like a camel nose on the trend, trying to start work on banning abortion for those who, trying to start working on banning abortion and those who provide. So you've got what's happening. Sure. So this was brought forth in a way to protect women. So Senator Favola brought this forth, was like, I just don't want y'all to start subpoenaing, just based off of where we're going as a climate, where the climate is going, that people are able to come up to Virginia and subpoena women's menstrual records, right? I mean, I'm sure, it's like, I know this isn't getting anywhere, right? But that's the real fear. But what was even more telling, or what was even more chilling for me as a, living here, was that just like with the juvenile justice bill, that we kept talking about how we're taking tools. We're going to put limits on, we're taking tools. But this one, I think was meant to strike this chord. The important part, and I'm getting to it, I apologize, I'm talking in circles, is that our governor and folks had to come out and say that they are not going to support any measures that seeks to prosecute women, and that they're focused on getting consensus for the 15-week ban. However, listen to this. They also had to come out and say, and remember, the chilling part is that this has to be said. They also had to come out and say that they don't support the extradition of women that come from somewhere else, that come to Virginia to get access to health care, to get access to reproductive care. And they don't support the extradition of them. The fact that we're talking about extraditing people from one state to another over this issue, it's wild to me. It just that again, just in 2023, that we're having this conversation where our executive branch has to say, no, we're not going to extradite people for coming here for reproductive care. We're not doing it. We're not going to do that. Great. That's awesome. But like, that's a real thing. If a woman came here from Texas, that we would have the right to make sure they got extradited back to Texas to face penalties in their home state, and that we have to say that we won't do that. And Um, I have an 11-year-old and I'm trying to figure out, like hopefully the conversation shifts over the next couple of years where we're having um, different kinds of conversations about this, but this is not going away. And also, I don't want proponents of it to think that they can just run away from it, because that's what's happening right now. Is that essentially, because it's not politically advantageous, because it's not politically expedient, that they don't even want to talk about it. No, we not even really talking about it. We're forcing the issue. And that says a lot to me because it's a convenient issue, recognizing that abortion has always been a wedge issue. The birth of it came from finding a wedge issue when we told folks that they had to desegregate schools, and they needed to find, couldn't come out and say, well, let's pull people together over resegregating schools because that would mess with our federal funding. They found abortion as a wedge issue. To be honest, the Catholic Church also supported safe abortions. They supported these sorts of things. So like, this hasn't always been this faith-based issue that it is claimed to be a moral purity test. And to the point of Miss Charlene, this is why we got to win in 2024. This is why, come set up for next year. I never understood it. And for many of you guys know, I never did party politics before this. It just was not a thing. I was just like, I don't care about no Democrats. I don't care about no Republicans. I don't care. I care about people. I care about people and the policies that affect them. I did not expect to be in this place, but I am here. Right. And now that I'm here, I'm trying to get a better understanding. I'm in a space where my value aligns with the people that I sit on the same side of the aisle with. Right. For the most part, there are things we disagree on, too, because we accept that we're a myriad of people. Right. We have diverse and different lived experiences. But I just, let's see what you say. Like Denise said, I see why they bring it up, because certain people love border control to the point that they don't care. But yeah, yep, state and federal. So like, that is another one of the things, right? You talk about it when it's politically, if I understand what you're saying, is like they bring it up because certain people, they love border to put, they don't care what's being crossed on state, federal level. I don't know that I understand that. I'm hoping I can read that two ways. I feel like I could read that. I feel like I could read that two ways. That they don't care. They either they love border control to the point that they don't care who is being crossed on the state or the federal level. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying at all. But that's where we are. We've got, and if you want to retype, okay. If you want to retype, I will stand fast. But that's where we are. We are in the process where we're voting. We're actually voting on Senate bills. Some of them are making it through. Some of them are not. We'll have conferences all next week. Hopefully I'll get to give you guys some time on the floor. And you'll be able to see. But if you all have any other questions, comments, do not, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to the office. We've got a week left. You see the email down there, deljglass@house.virginia.gov. Our phone number is there if you've got any specific questions or concerns. I will tell you, over the past week or so, we've got an increased number of concerns about NRHA. Know that we're trying to work with the local government and folks. Been getting the Councilwoman Royster in on some of this stuff, like trying to fill in the gap for some of the city things that are happening until we get back into Norfolk. But even that, there's still a level of collaboration that has to be done at the local level to get some of your issues solved. But we're going to do that warm handoff where it is needed. But if you know anybody that's in need or having some issues or going through some things, we don't have all the answers, but we'll try to get you to the right folks. It's hard out there right now. I know, a lot of housing phone calls, a lot of it's been a lot. and I know that I'm in a place of privilege right now, and I'm going to spend that privilege in a way that is beneficial to people that ask me to be of service to them and the people of the Commonwealth. I know that sounds cheesy, but that's the facts. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm standing by for any other questions, comments, concerns. If you have any events or anything, you can drop them in the chat right now. I can share with folks anything you got coming up that you want to make sure that people know you got going on, what you're thinking about. Um, let's see. Nothing. Okay, that's great. So this has been the morning dew for certified doers just like you. So grateful that you're a doer. So grateful that you get up this early and get to it. Oh, I see. I got questions. Oh, have a great weekend. Um, um, but here we go. Let's get at it. It is Thursday, and I'm wishing you guys. I hope that you're able to make it a great weekend. Until next time, I'm Jackie Glass, or Delegate Jackie Glass. Gotta get used to that. Um, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer in the Lace Up Legislative House Delegates 89th District. I will see you all on Tuesday. Be well.